information, and this was way off the charts. People had this, almost. I mean, a few people reported that they thought they were being watched when they weren't, but the people that were being watched, almost all of them reported that they were. So it was very powerful, and so basically gets into that whole sense. And there's nothing within the laws of physics that would let you know you're being watched, unless it is this kind of morphic field.
Yeah.
So there's this sensation that you're talking about, and in your case, you're kind of identifying with people. So what's kind of interesting that we've come along to find out is that scientists, want to be able to run experiments to be able to prove things, or they're not going to buy into it. Okay, so that's perfectly fine, and that's the whole concept of scientific principle, and I'm fully on board with that, and that's why scientists were so, I guess, reticent and slow to maybe come on board with paranormal, activity. And for two reasons. One, they didn't really think it was necessary, and second of all, they couldn't really replicate it. But what's interesting is we're getting better and better at experiments, and we are replicating these things. And it's kind of really thrown science somewhat on its back on its heels and made believers out of an awful lot of people. And that's one particular case where you talk about morphic fields, and now we're seeing evidence of them that we can experimentally show, and we can do this in we can duplicate these same findings. More and more. And not everybody's on board with this, but, it's certainly something that you have to, buy into. In my book, I say, like if you get into Sheldrake's work, it's kind of like, in the vernacular of Ricky Ricardo, the standard model of physics has some splaining to do. In other words, we can't explain certain things, and so something is wrong with the model.
Yeah. Have you heard of the book The Source Fields Investigations?
I have not heard that one. No.
Okay. So the author, and I'm getting a total blank on his name right now, but The Source Fields Investigations was his most thoroughly researched one. His next book after that was called The Synchronicity Keys. But I can't think of his name now. And actually, he wrote a book called The Reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, and I do believe he is the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, and I can't think of his name anyway. But anyway.
Well, I'm very familiar with Edgar Cayce. I reference him all over my books. Kind of interesting guy. I was just talking about him this past Sunday at a dinner.
Yeah, Edgar Cayce. So I'm actually starting to do more with sleeping healing, because I like to sleep, and I started doing when I was about 3 or 4 years old.
David Wilcox?
David Wilcox. Yeah, that's such a great book for scientists who don't want to buy into things that aren't researched. He really goes through the research of all this metaphysical stuff. With most of it was researched after the fall of the Soviet Union, with Russian scientists who had the time to do whatever they wanted because they didn't have anything else to do, because the government fell apart. So they had laboratories, they had a little bit of money, but they can research things. So they started researching pyramids, they started researching dreams, they started researching all kinds of stuff, which other scientists in countries where the government was funding them to do certain research, that's all they could do. So these scientists had free time to do whatever they wanted, and they cared about learning. So they started researching all kinds of paranormal stuff, and the research in that book is just absolutely phenomenal. And a lot of the scientists that aren't willing to give up their notions that physical reality is all there is they're becoming more of a religion, which people are calling scientism, because they're stuck in this old way of thinking that the only way they can prove anything is if it physically is provable. And physical is only 1/3 of reality, so they're only looking at a small fraction of what is possible, and they're trying to explain it based on models that are linear models, which linear in the synchronicity keys, he talks about time as a spiral, and he actually talks about all these people that are reincarnated throughout history, and they wonder why historians say Jesus Christ and the guy who Julius Caesar, there's so many things that in the history of Jesus Christ and the history of Julius Caesar are identical. So either the either the historians were lying and recreating the history of Julius Caesar, or they both had the same history. And he actually found with about 50 other people in history, they went through the same history over and over, and they were actually reincarnated and redoing the same thing over and over.
Interesting.
So,
yeah. Interesting. I just read a little bit about him while I was listening to you. By the way, Jess has stayed on, and she has a question.
Cool.
Jess, are you still with us?
I am.
Yeah, cool. And I believe you have a question.
Yes. There is a sensation that I'm having, that I've been having, that nobody's been able to tell me what it is or why it is. And I'm not sure if it's related to the sinus infection or not, but I wanted to ask about it. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Certainly.
Did you say again? What was it again?
It's some sort of sensation when I'm working on the computer, which during the worst part of the sinus infection I wasn't able to do, but when I'm doing it now, it sort of feels like, you know that feeling if you're falling asleep on a train or in a moving car? It's sort of like that kind of head jerk that happens, but it's happening to the side of my head. That's the sensation. That's just the best way I can describe it.
Okay, and right now, are you having that sensation? Or were you having it right now?
I just had it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just having it.
And on a level 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, what would you say the discomfort in that sensation?
No, 7 or 8.
Okay. So let me ask if we can do something about that, yeah. The first thing is everything you're not willing to claim, own, and acknowledge about your ability to, what's the word? Not relationship. Okay, hold on one second. I got to think of the word. Commune. Okay. Everything you're not willing to be, know, perceive, and receive about your ability to commune with the consciousness of the computers you're working with, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate everything that is times a Buddha-zillion?
No.
Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and puck, shorts, boys, beyond. Okay, so I'm going again into access consciousness because I know she has a background in access consciousness. I'm gonna go in there. Yeah, everything. But the founder of access consciousness, Gary Douglas, likes to change the idea of a relationship into communion, because relationship is actually defined as the distance between two things. So every time we're trying to have a relationship, we're actually causing us to have separation because of the language. And the language means separation. It means the distance between two things. So he says instead of using the word relationship, use the word communion, which is more of a not only a Christian idea but a Buddhist idea. We call it the oneness. So we call it funi, which is neither two. So the oneness of you and the computers, everything you haven't been willing to claim, own, and acknowledge about your ability to be one with all the computers you're using, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate all that times a Buddha-zillion?
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and puck, shorts, boys, and beyond. Okay, so if she says yes and anyone else who's listening in says yes, you're going to be able to commune with your computers more. So the thing is, science, the people that believe that physical reality is all there is, and there's a group of scientists we call scientism, they're not willing to understand that consciousness is in everything. So the computer has consciousness, our table has consciousness, our chairs have consciousness. So you can actually be sitting on a chair and your butt can be sore, and you can ask the chair and the consciousness of your body to work in communion with each other. And all of a sudden, once you ask that, the chair will start feeling softer towards your butt, because you're actually, the consciousness of the chair will work with you if you ask it to work with you. So let me ask, is there something on the body code chart we should do about this too? Yeah. So far, what I just did right there, did you notice any shift in that sensation?
Yeah, and sort of a clearing up and being able to look at the screen a little bit better, too.
Cool, okay. There's something else on the body code chart, too, about this, so let's look and find where it is.
You know, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't know if you were through with the healing process.
Just one more thing she has. Okay, so you have cavitation, which cavitation a lot of dentists don't know about, and it's a anaerobic bacteria that's stuck either in your gums or your tooth or your jaw, or it could be anywhere in your mouth. And this cavitation is kind of hard for dentists to work with, but the good thing is we can energetically release it. So do we need to know where this cavitation is? No. Can we release all the cavitation? Yeah, releasing it all from her gums, jaw, mouth, body, mind, spirit, energy system, wherever else she has cavitation. Is this gone yet? Does she have any other thing like that? No. Okay. So did your sensation go down a little more?
I'm not looking at the computer right now, so
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Does that also work with the fluid in my ear? In my ears?
Yeah, your body says
Like the-
it's related to the cavitation too.
Ooh.
Let me ask, is there something else with your nose? Okay, we were working on your nose at first, and you went down a little bit from there. How has it gone down since then?
Oh, tremendously.
Tremendously. Okay. So, okay, they're all related. Your ears, your nose, your feeling with the computer, because it's all related. So, it's trapped emotions of anxiety. Do we need to know anything more about it? Does she have more than one, more than 100, more than 1,000? These hundreds of trapped emotions of anxiety can release them all at the same time. Yeah. Do we need to know anything more? No, we're just going to release from her body, mind, spirit, energy system, and wherever else it might be. Is this all going yet? Does she have anything else like that? No.